Welcome to the Sexy Freedom Media Podcast, a place to discuss pain, passion, and pursuits.
Let's get it. I want to feel alive.
Breathe.
Make some moves.
Protect the throne. This is Sexy Freedom Media Podcast.
Welcome to the Sexy Freedom Media Podcast. It's your host, Helen Edwards, and
January Liddell. Aloha.
Please welcome our guest, Lisa Pelto. Please introduce yourself, Lisa.
Hey everyone, I'm Lisa Pelto. I run a company that helps people publish their books.
Awesome.
I don't know what you want me to say on there, but that's it.
It's okay. We're going to jump right in.
Yeah.
So I know you have 40 years of experience as a book consultant and in the publishing industry. I'm really excited to talk about this. That is a lot of experience. What exactly is a publishing consultant and who are your ideal clients?
So I work with people who want to have their own publishing company, their own publishing operation, but they don't either have the resources or the knowledge to actually get it all up and running. So I help them put together the business end of it and then help them with the publishing part, the production part, but it's all in their own name. So publishing consultant, in my view, is somebody that helps an author retain their rights or, find a traditional publisher if they go that route. But for the most part, I work with independent authors who want a really good product rather than just doing it themselves, not the DIY kind.
Actually, I'd like to expand on that. So what did you mean by how do we go about creating our own publishing company?
So people think there's a big misnomer in the industry with authors that are trying to do it themselves, trying to self-publish. They think they have to do everything themselves. They do the layout themselves. They try and design it themselves. They do the editing themselves, God forbid. But that is a big problem in the industry. And a lot of people are using AI and they think they can get it out there. So DIY is do it yourself. And that does not mean, that is not the same as self-publishing. Self-publishing, you're more like a general contractor where you are coordinating all of the professionals that do the plumbing and the electrical like you do in a house, but we're doing the layout and the or the formatting of the interior of the book, the editing. A lot of times people come and they don't have one word written. They're just thinking of a concept, and we help them through that process of figuring out what they're trying to say and what audience they're trying to say it to.
Well, that's really important because what you just said, self-publishing and what people think self-publishing is really, it does get confusing for writers or people that are in the current position of writing their book.
Mhm.
I've had this question asked to me a lot, how did you do it? How did you do it? And I even mentioned I worked with 5 editors at one time for my first book because I was still trying to figure it all out. I didn't know there were book publishing consultants that actually come in and say, hey, let me help you. Let me take some of the load off. The how do I do it? It can get so confusing. My next question is, what do you find that indie or self-published authors often get confused with in the book industry?
Well, I can tell you first off, the biggest mistake people make is not doing the math of it. Not figuring out what the expenses are, that it is a real business, that it's set up. You have to have a business plan of some sort. Publishing is marketing, and vice versa. If you took a marketing class in college, you'd see the exact same things you have to make a decision on as publishing. So the math is just super, super important. And to that point, distribution is like the first thing I try and work out with my clients. What is it? How do you plan on getting the book into someone's hands, and who are they? And then we work backwards from there. Most people will write their book and just, get it formatted and then start thinking about marketing and distribution. So that to me is the biggest mistake, is not thinking about the end game and how, because all the marketing in the world doesn't work if they can't get the book when they want it.
That's so important for us to hear, is that it is a business. And I think when I first wrote my book, I didn't think of it as a business. I thought of it as I just want to write a book. And I think majority of writers just want to write a book. But with that said, I'm realizing now that it is a business. There's a marketing plan, distribution, that's a huge thing. And
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that going into writing this book. I mean, now that I'm writing the second and hopefully, all the way to the eighth, then now I have a better idea. But I'm still very new to this, as I'm sure a lot of the listeners or audience who are listening, they're like, well, how do we start? So
Mhm.
let me ask you, because I know this is not in our list of questions, but we're talking about distribution and planning. So what, in your mind, what would we do first? If somebody says, I want to write a book, then what is the next step after that?
Well, that's the writing. The writing part is like a whole different ball game, but deciding what your topic is, who your audience is, figuring out how they purchase things is really important because it is a product that you're. One thing that I encourage people to do is stop thinking of it like your baby, just for a few minutes to work through the business end of it, because the book mama doesn't always make the best decisions. So we try and get you in the mode of what product is out there. I actually tell people, first thing to do when you think about writing a book, look on Amazon and read the 1-star reviews of the other books that are in that genre, because there's a little treasure trove of information in there. There, you're looking to do a parenting book. This type of book would have been great, except it didn't have diagrams, is in the 1-star reviews. And then you're saying, well, I'll have diagrams then. Or this book would have been fantastic, but there was no map and I got lost in the, fantasy world or whatever. So, those are things that give you a guide as far as where's the hole in that particular genre that in the book that you're writing, because you don't have to be all things to all people when you're writing a book. You have to fill a hole that's missing in that particular genre and make sure that your book, not only fits in there, but gives them a nugget. One nugget is all it takes, that isn't in the other books that are offered. If there were no books in a genre and you're trying to write a book and there you find nothing on it, there's a problem. That might mean there's no market for it. If there's 10 books in the same genre, 65 books in the same, kind of space, like cookbooks for autistic children was one that we were researching last week. And, 5 years ago, there were no books on it. Now there's, 10 really kind of similar books to what we're doing. And now I know that there's a market that we can reach and that there's probably a hole in that market.
That actually leads us to the next question. What is one problem you love to solve with ease for your clients?
The distribution, always figuring out how to get it to marketplace. I'm an operations brain. I'm thinking, how is it you're gonna spend, I've got people that are spending $16,000 a month on marketing on Amazon. How are they going to get it, and what are they going to make from each sale? I don't want them to ever say no to a sale. If somebody offers them something, I always give them a way to say yes. That's my first kind of lesson with people, is how to say yes to a deal, and then we figure out how to deliver it at the best profit margin for them. So distribution, math, math, math. I know it sounds really ridiculous to think of so much math in publishing, but it's just as important as the words.
Let's break that down. Distribution. For people who are writing a book or planning on writing a book, if they hear the word distribution, they're like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, yeah. So you should have a multi-channel distribution strategy. A lot of books are sold online, maybe 86 to 87% now. It changes every year, but a lot of books are sold online through Amazon and other retail establishments. The rest of them are sold in specialty markets. So I have a book about a child with Down syndrome. We do not market that, or we don't distribute it through any other means other than Amazon and through the Down Syndrome associations. So that is like a dual channel on that particular book. But we've got other books that have 16 channels, the retail, direct to retail, direct to consumer, having specialty distributors that just distribute to school libraries, or they just do hospitals, that kind of thing. So thinking about the genre that you have to your on your book and who the audience is, where do they buy books, thinking about how that retailer or that establishment purchases books. Because like the Down Syndrome Association, they buy them direct in bulk. We've got school systems here that buy children's books, and they buy direct from the author in bulk, and we print them. So distribution is basically getting it through the channel that that will land on the consumer's cash register when they have their $20 out, however it is. And every book is different. That's why it's so difficult when people say, how should I market my book? It's like, who's your audience? That the distribution is everything.
Would distribution also mean the printing company, or would those be two separate channels or two separate?
In the case of print on demand, it is the same.
Okay.
So like Ingram Spark is one, KDP is another. There are a lot of them, but you want to make sure that you're choosing one that is non-exclusive. That's not gonna, like, you have your own account up there, your own publishing imprint, and the money goes directly into your own checking account versus having anybody in the middle in that. No, so I always encourage people to do a lot of research, make sure there's not somebody in the middle of that transaction.
So one word that I keep on hearing is print on demand. So there's print on demand, and then there's another concept, but I don't know what the other concept is. Can you share those two different things?
Yeah, in the old days, 7 years ago, 10 years ago, print on demand was there, but it wasn't, it wasn't as beneficial to the author. And what print on demand means is literal. They print it when it's bought, by someone. So people that are always trying to get into bookstores with their print on demand books, I'm always looking at them going, marry the system, marry it. Don't just date the system. You're gonna be print on demand, really live in that world, because you're gonna make more money in that if you just let the system work itself and make sure that you're in non-exclusive agreements. Traditional publishing, or so a lot of traditional publishing is using print on demand too, but the traditional model was you printed a bulk of them and had 1,200 of them in a garage somewhere, and sent them to Amazon when they had an order. We had several clients that they would order a case and a half or whatever every week. We did a mob book, for example, and they were ordering 52 books every week, and we had it send it to them. About 2020, we switched even that one over to print on demand, so we didn't have the shipping and distribution and stuff. So the big difference is, are you going to print a bulk order of them, or are you going to just let them be printed as people order them? And the funny part of that is if you really do the math on that one, here's math again. You used to have to buy 1,000 books for lots of specs or lots of book setups. You used to have to buy 1,000 to get what you can buy one for now. The pricing has gone way down. You can't choose your paper, of course, and you take the binding that they have offered.
Wow. Yeah, you actually helped me a lot when it came to understanding this whole distribution situation, because I was really torn on where do I get my book. I didn't understand. Let's actually talk about Ingram for a second, because Ingram, you're the one who's told me there's an Ingram content group, and then there's Ingram Spark, because I was really confused with Ingram Spark. Every single time I uploaded one of my books on there, and then I ordered it just to an author's copy, it came horribly wrong. And then the ones off Amazon were coming in completely different, and those were the ones that I was like in love with.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what am I do? What is happening? Do I have two different books out there? So let me ask you, What is the difference between Ingram Spark and Ingram Content Group?
Ingram Spark is a platform for authors to put their book up and publish it themselves. And Ingram Spark handles the orders that come in a distribution from different distribution channels that they work with, primarily Ingram Content Group, who is a big wholesale distributor. They own Ingram Spark. Ingram Content Group also does the distribution for KDP, which is Kindle's platform. So when you click expanded distribution, if you're going through the system and pricing and stuff, you click expanded distribution on KDP, it also goes to Ingram Content Group. They are the largest book wholesale distributor in the world. The US, there's one in US and there's one in UK, but I can't remember the name of it. But they're both tied to each, they're owned by a parent company. Ingram Spark, the platform, really you are the publisher for that. A lot of people think that Ingram is the publisher, and there's a lot of bad information on all of the chat groups, really bad information. So when you put your book up on Ingram Spark, you're just loading it up and telling them, we're allowing you to print it here in my publishing company name, and we're also allowing you to send it to Ingram Content Group for distribution. Ingram Content Group then has customers, libraries, bookstores, organizations, institutions, colleges, and that. They all have accounts, and they order the book from Ingram Content Group. For all the publishers they want, there might be 20 different publishers in one order, and then Ingram Content Group makes the order for the individual books. They might have some of them on a stock shelf, and they might be sending them to Ingram Spark for printing.
Now, with so many books on Ingram Content and Ingram Spark, how are people, stores, owners, how are they going to find our book? Is there an ad? How does that work?
They have some new ad programs, but I don't believe that's the way to go. I mean, that's mass advertising, and the concept, everybody should read my book, but everybody doesn't read everybody's book, just like you don't read everybody's book, right? So Ingram Content Group is solely a wholesale distributor. They don't really do any marketing. You are still, as the publisher, your best dollar is spent getting your buyer to persuaded to buy your book. However they buy it is the job of the distribution channels. If they want to walk into Bookworm, on the corner bookstore and order it, if they want to go to a Barnes and Noble or whatever and order it, or they go online, all of that is set up through that system.
What are your thoughts on authors joining literary associations? Are there any specific ones you suggest?
Literary associations are like the Authors Guild and the Writers Guild, and that they do protect you in some ways. That's a whole different ballgame. The IBPA, the Independent Book Publishers Association, is ibpa-online.org. Fantastic organization, great newsletter. It's all kinds of other authors that want to be their own publisher, either for a micro publisher for their own work, or they want to take on other books too as an independent publisher that is a more like a royalty publisher. There are both in that group. There are also a lot of marketing organizations in that. So some of the benefits, I figured out this year that I have a partner membership as a consultant. It was paid for like by March, by just the discounts that I got and the benefits that I got access to. So IBPA is very good. Ally is very good. It's just ALLI.org. That one is, I believe it's primarily UK authors on there. I've just recently joined on that, but they have a really good list of awards programs that are very, it's pretty well vetted on there. So those are the two that I think have been around the longest. I joined IBPA, used to be PMA, in 1993 and have been a member since then. Showing my age.
Lisa, I'm amazed by your wealth of knowledge. And first of all, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing your
Thanks.
wisdom and all of your expertise.
Thanks for asking me to.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about for marketing, there's a mass amount of marketing apps, tools, programs available. What are a few of your recommendations for authors that you've seen to be some of the best?
Totally depends on the book. The apps, APSS, the Association for Publishers of Special Sales, Brian Judd's organization, they are looking for bulk sales. Those the people that walk in with a customized pin with your logo on it. They have the salespeople take in books that can be customized for various purposes. Depends on what your book is. That's a really good one. They have a ton of marketing programs and a lot of teaching as far as how to do a bulk sale. That's very valuable. I also use written word for a lot of stuff. The free Booksy, the book stacks, Fussy Library, and things that go to the reader themselves. So we do that. We don't do a ton of that because really those are more mass oriented. Like you choose nonfiction. So it could be, a tour book next to a parenting book, marketing to the same people. But we really concentrate on who it goes to and really try and find an audience that's very specific. The mob books that a colleague and I acquired a mob book that we started working on in 2005, and the second one that's been um, in process since 2006 and was never published. The author died, so myself and my colleague purchased the rights from his wife and are just coming out with that one. We go to casinos, we go to airport bookstores, we go to very specific kinds of markets for that. We have an adoption book, and we go to adoption uh, groups, social workers. That one's a memoir, and we still go to those marketplaces. So really, really depends. When I say marketing, I want to get down to the granular level of who is the most likely person to read that book. We do a festival called Junk Stock every year, which is an enormous, it's one of the top 10 festivals in the US. And we have a permanent exhibit there, and I have a full bookstore with all locally published books. Most of them are our clients, but if people are looking for horror or fantasy or something like that, we don't publish those kinds of books necessarily. So we'll acquire those books from just like a bookstore would. And I always ask every single person that comes in there that, first of all, do you like to read books? And then they come in. What do you like to read? What's your current favorite book? What people say, I read everything. I read nonfiction, I read fiction. What was the last book you loved? I ask every single person that's in there. So it helps me. And, how do you buy books? How do you find books? And a lot of people are part of associations. Very rarely does bookstore marketing work for that kind of thing. And the reason is you do all this marketing, you spend all this money, they walk into a Barnes and Noble or a bookstore or something, and then another book catches their eye and they forget all about the book they came in for. Or they buy that and, put it, whatever, they buy both or a pair of socks instead or something. It's very, very genre related. I have a farmer's market book that I wrote, a children's book called Meet Me at the Farmer's Market. It was such an education for me, even though I've done thousands of books and consulted on thousands of books, such an education to be on that side of the fence. It's like, oh, that's how that feels. That hurts. But the Farmers Market Coalition out in California helped me, make it something that would be more universal. And, so I work with them to market it, and guess where I sell it? Farmers markets, right?
I like that advice. Know your audience. That now when you're asking, I notice you're asking, what do you read? And you're part of these book festivals or these types of places where you go and you sell your books. Now, you're a book publishing consultant. Is there anything else you do? Because it sounds like you have, and I know because I've sat down with you and you showed me some back office things. You're not a bookstore, or are you a bookstore? Like, what
And
exactly do you do?
I have a permanent bookstore at that one. So I have, shelving built out and everything. It is a bookstore. When I'm typically doing it, I always have an author with me. Most of the time it's a new author, and I'm showing them, how to talk to a person, how to catch their attention when somebody's just walking by. Because I don't do a lot of book fairs. I do art festivals, boutiques, those things where books are not everything, because there's so much other stuff to catch their attention at a book festival. So I'm teaching them, how to casually hand a book to a person, because your sales percentage goes way up if that person that you are talking to is holding your book. Yeah, we go over. So when I'm sitting there at a book festival, I'm training them, I'm teaching them. If they're talking too much, I'll go in, and the next person that comes up, I'll help them hone their, refine their message so people aren't running away
I need
with
to
their
hang
20
out with
bucks in
you.
their pocket.
I
Huh?
need to hang out with you, Lisa, because it sounds like you're a great coach. So the other thing that I heard you say, you were canvassing certain locations, like in the airport, based on the audience.
Mm.
I'm canvassing myself, so I've gone to different stores here on island. There's a local feel to I'm in Hawaii, so there's a local feel to the book. So I've gone to different local places. As of right now, my book is at Ala Moana, Barnes and Nobles, but you're totally right. You mentioned that people can go to Barnes and Nobles, but there's so many other books that catch their attention. So I guess my question to you is there anything easier than canvassing all these different places? Because I've gone to many different locations. One of them is the Navy Exchange because I'm a military wife, and it's important for me to have my book there. However, that particular buyer states that they will only purchase from this particular company. And I guess the question is, if I decide to go to this publishing, I don't know if it's a publishing company or distribution company, would I lose any rights to that and commission in terms of, well, that's the reason why they can buy, Navy Exchange can buy from this company only. So if I get into this company, would I lose some kind of sale or some kind of commission rights to it?
Whenever there's a distribution company that's not distributor wholesaler, there's always another discount on top of that, and they handle a distributor, pure distributor will handle all your wholesale deals. Even Amazon, they take over the world. So, I mean, a distributor does. Depending on which company it is, sometimes they do exclusive distribution just into certain markets. There's a distributor that handles just the airports, for example. If I were looking at a book like that, I'd be looking at boutiques, coffee shops, people that have a little counter you could put a point of purchase display. But always figure out your terms and policies prior to going in and making those kinds of deals. Have a sheet of your discounts, that's spelled out, and how the books are available, so they don't try and negotiate it up, their discount up. And that really does. When it's black and white, they don't negotiate, they just do what you want. Also, like the courtyards, a courtyard hotel, for example, most hotels in their chain are required to have a little library in their front lobby there. So you do have to. It is an active, marketing thing to get into those kinds of things. But I also encourage you to look at that APPS organization, Brian Judd's Association for Publishers Special Sales, because he's solely concentrated on bulk sales. So like for a tour company, you might have sandals, a resort company or something that would buy multiple. They might buy 30 books at a discount, but non-returnable. The other thing that happens is in those kinds of sales is customization. So we have a client that's all she does is custom versions. So we have a base book. She sells it for $10,000 to a financial advisor. Hers is for people who are investing. So the financial advisors pay for it. They put their picture on the front of it as a forward, and put a forward in it and their picture on the back. And they pay big bucks for that to look like they wrote the forward on this. Well, they did write the forward on this book, but so the book sales really, really a missed opportunity for a lot of books. And yours even, Helen, could be along I don't know what your next book is about, but your first book, you could be looking at markets like women's groups, AARP even, because they have things for growth, personal growth and stuff. Those opportunities where you can customize, and by customize, a gift from sticker, a gift from such and such organization, whatever it is. Those are you can sell a couple hundred books or a couple thousand books. We've got people that have sold a couple 100,000 books. Like for Helen, for you, I would go to some sub boxes, like the FabFitFun kind of boxes, and start looking at that and see, what would I have to do to have my book in there? Those kinds of things.
Yeah, thank you. One of the things that I am currently working on is trying to figure out how to get my wholesale link. And, you taught me so much when we first had our initial meet. And after that, I was like, oh my gosh, I became such a fangirl of you because you're so full of knowledge and information and things that were just so easy to just share. And then I'm in these groups and I'm searching for the knowledge, and everybody's all over the place. I mean, the industry is so big and there's so many different avenues you can take. So my next question is in a more of a smaller scale, I guess you can say, is once an author has their media kit or press release put together, what would you suggest their next plan of action be?
Make it something downloadable on their website. Easy access. We use e-releases for distribution, mainly because the free distribution for media kits and that for press releases, you get what you pay for on those. E-releases does a really good job making sure that you haven't made a mistake on your press release, and then they distribute it, and you have lots of choices to selects that you can do, like location, topic, beat. They also go out to bloggers and that. So I also would encourage people to pitch podcasts and bloggers and people that are not necessarily reviewing books, but that are experts in whatever field you're writing in. To get them to say things about your book was really valuable. So, media press releases do not have any legs during November and an election year, October, November. So never send them then. But you should always have one ready for, opportunities that come up. But I do encourage people to have a wider view of what media is.
I wanted to follow up on the question about canvassing, because I love the e-releases, because e-releases is an easier way to share our press release or our media kit for mass distribution.
Mhm.
Now, and then we should pitch podcasts and bloggers, and then not send it in October and November. Got it.
Just during election year. You can do it any other year.
Oh, just during election year. Okay, noted.
Yep.
Okay, and then so the next question, it's a follow-up question, and I probably didn't word it correctly, but as far as canvassing, because I did hear you that you were canvassing to these different places, is there an easier way? Because I find that it's only one of me and one of Helen, and we're trying to go to these different spots. But is there another way that we can, besides e-release, is there another way that we can mass share what our book is all about?
Mass, I always say no, because it's the everybody theme. But if you have lots of people in your target audience, like say we're doing a library mailing right now. States have library lists that you can usually buy, or they're free. They're for every library. There are also lots of different kinds of libraries. not just a public library. They have specialty libraries. So if you're doing that, buy a list, rent a list or whatever, and mail more than once to them. Don't think you're going to market to somebody effectively just sending them one postcard, because people have very limited brain power and it has to catch their attention eventually. Catalogs, online retailers, have a little bit of advance idea of who you're marketing to, like for gift guides and things like that. You needed to get those back in May to people, May and June, and so they would select the products and things. It really depends on the marketplace. I don't really like Amazon ads that much unless you're spending lots and lots of money, because there are people out there spending lots and lots of money. Your ad will only show up a few times. So the biggest advice is figure out how people, are you in your own audience?
Yes, so I'm children's book is that's what I wrote as a children's book about finance. So I have several different audiences I guess I can appeal to. But what I'm finding challenging right now is that there are a lot of different stores, different places that I'd like to get to. But the issue is, one, it's hard to contact and find out who actually is the buyer.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
another challenge. The other challenge is that it is just one of me, and there are all these places I'd like to go,
Have you
and
gone to financial advisors?
I have not. I have not, but I
So
am planning on going to a bank. So that's one of the things that I'm trying to do is go into a bank, ask them to buy books to donate to. So I'm doing read alouds, and then the read alouds will I can donate whatever that book from the bank is. So that's one of the things that I'm trying to do, but it is very overwhelming, and it's overwhelming because of the whole distribution. I know that's the name of the game. The word of the day today is distribution, because otherwise nobody is going to know about
yeah,
our books if we don't have the proper forms of distribution. So I'm just trudging along, trying to
I
find my
would, knowing it's about financial literacy, right? Financial literacy, or um,
correct.
I would go straight. That I wouldn't even think twice. I'd get on my bike and ride over to a financial advisor, and those can be customized very easily. We even on we will put things on Ingram Spark for those, because you can customize it and you don't have to have a separate ISBN. You can tell it you don't want an ISBN. It's not for distribution, and they'll print it for you and ship it. Depends on the construction. Is it 32 page, 8 by 10 or something, or
It's 44 8 by 8s, 8.5 by 8.5.
in the actual printing, manufacturing, this is more math. Children's books, well, all kinds of printing like that, that's color in particular. If you go to a press that is not a print on demand, they're going to be on 16-page signatures, 12-page signatures, depends on the size of their press. So making your book divisible by 16 is going to make it more efficient for printing for this type of bulk sale. So when you want to make sure that you're not losing money if you're giving them a huge discount for this. You want to make money in every sale, but in the customization market, you might give them a discount, but you're also charging them for customization. It might be $1,600 to put their logo on there, but a financial advisor who's giving it to new clients for their children, all day long, I'd be going after that. And you can do that you would probably need a specialized website for something like that. But that's a big market right now, is financial literacy, and kids are so much more sophisticated than we were when we were kids. I mean, you're a lot younger than I am, but we were like tying each other's shoelaces together and eating mud, until we were 13.
Thank you. Yes, I will definitely look into financial advisors, and I like the idea, and I didn't even think about that idea of putting their logo or their name onto my book and sharing that book with the financial advisor and their clients and their children. Great idea.
You have
Didn't
children's museums nearby. I would also target a couple of those, because kids are there to learn. They usually have a little store there. So it seems like financial literacy would be something that they may be able to go for. don't spend your time on the people that are going to buy one book at a time is for anybody that's doing it one book at a time. You want somebody that's going to buy one sale is going to mean a hundred books, you know. And Helen, you do you have book clubs on your list?
I don't have book clubs. No.
So keep track of questions that people ask you about your book. And on your website, put book club questions available. And then in a lot of states, they have in their library commissions, they have book club divisions. And your book seems like it would be great for women's groups, book clubs, and that kind of thing. So having those available will up your chances of being selected for book clubs.
Oh my gosh, you're so awesome. Thank you for this knowledge. Uh, okay, I know we're gonna wrap this up here in a bit, so I just want to get to you. What is it that you're looking for right now? Do you have any events coming up? Where can people find you? Tell us a little bit more about how we can serve you on Sexy Freedom Media Podcast.
Okay, thank you. I just had my 20th anniversary. This is my 20th year as a incorporated company. I just celebrated on Sunday. So thank you. Um, I want to work with people that realize that it is a business, that that it is not the only product they're selling because their product is themselves. Just like, with both of you, you have experience in other stuff and the book is just part of you. Those are the people that tend to do the best versus a person that thinks they're going to write a book and people start lining up outside the door the minute their pen hits the paper. So I want people that want a high quality product and that understand that marketing is part of it and they can't just sit in their basement and do it. My website is conciergepublishingservices.com. And I have a lot of information on there, but a lot of our books are on there too that you can kind of look through. We work with most genres. We don't work with sci-fi anymore. And I just don't connect with sci-fi stuff. My brain doesn't go there. And I don't do like erotica and porn unless it has a good reason. But or there's pictures, then I will. No.
Well, I guess I was about to say, well, I guess my book's out. And then you said, unless there's good reason, I said, okay, I got hope.
Yeah, yeah. No. There's some that are just like 50 Shades of Grey is just for, out there for, entertainment. I don't know. I don't want to. Your book is not something that I would ever turn down because it's your life story. I'm very contextual person. I like to know what got you in that seat right there and where your history is, and that's what trips my trigger. I love knowing the stories of people. I get to meet just amazing people every day that have changed the world. This is my favorite way to say it. They've changed the world, they want to change the world, or they wanted to invent their own world. It's a huge honor every day.
Well, we will definitely be marketing you on all of our platforms because we think you're
Thank you.
amazing.
Thank
And
you.
so thank you so much for your time, Lisa. I actually want to connect with you after the show because I would love to join you. And I think you mentioned a book festival that is the top book festival to attend. I want to go there. I hope Helen will join me too because I want to go follow you and just watch you in action.
It's a lot of fun, I have to say. We sell a lot of books at that too. It's not just books. We're the only books. It's a lot of fun to bring something new to to people that aren't expecting to find amazing books.
And when is it? And what is the name of that
It's
festival?
twice a year. Here it's just outside of Omaha here. There's others that are they're really good too, like War Eagle down in Arkansas and some of those areas. But the one here is called Junk Stock, and it's just a fantastic opportunity. Lots of people, arts, art minded, upcycle minded kind of individuals that are more likely to be readers. And spring and fall.
Are there any advice that you can give to upcoming new authors? And what is it?
my big message is, even though, there are some challenges to it, there really has never been such a great opportunity for authors to write their book and realize their dream. It used to be huge hurdles for everything. I mean, when I started in the early 1800s, it was virtually impossible. Self-publishing was not really, it was really had a bit bad stigma. You couldn't get a book on Amazon unless you jumped through a bunch of hoops, and way different as far as that. Now I encourage people, even if you just print 10 of them, write your book, leave your legacy, don't don't leave the world without telling your story.
Awesome. Well, on that note, let's go ahead and wrap it up. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Sure.
January, where can people find you?
You can find me januaryliddell.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn, January Liddell, or Facebook, Anchored Financial LLC, both on Instagram and Facebook, and Alina, the Honeymaker, on Facebook and Instagram. Helen, where can we find you?
Yes. You can find me on Sexy Freedom Media or Hell of a Journey. That's with one L. You can also get your book, Nothing Sexier Than Freedom, available on Amazon and Audible. It is rated R and X for adult language. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in and listening. Please check out Lisa Pelto's link in our show notes. She is full of wisdom, and I'm so grateful that you came on our show. Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Aloha.
Want to hear more?
Visit us at sexyfreedommedia.com.